Okay, call to order the April 2nd, 2018 Management Services Committee. Got the roll. Okay. Motion to approve the agenda. For a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, public comments. Seeing none, we'll continue the discussion on building efficiency, so that would be up, you're on.
Join?
Huh?
To join? Can I join?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you all for letting me come back this morning. On behalf of Johnson Controls, for those, if anybody wasn't here, I'm Jason Myers. Put together kind of a preliminary analysis of what we found during our building walk, so it's all about for those that like to take a look, kind of summarize what we found. Any recommendations that we might have? Okay. Our development engineer is going to join us as well this morning, so kind of talk through some of the technical pieces or technical questions. He's more the brains behind the operation, if you will. First off, the buildings are in pretty good shape, and Chris and folks before him have done a nice job of maintaining the facilities, making some good upgrades. Our goal at Johnson Controls really is to alleviate some of the larger, more complex pain points that the facilities might have that are a little bit more difficult for maintenance teams to address. Obviously, like we talked before, our focus is where we can find efficiencies, make things more energy efficient, have a good impact on the budget, and also make sure that the facilities are operable and in good condition for 20 plus years looking ahead, so that really, from a facilities management standpoint on the county's behalf, it's a maintain and keep things up and running and focus on that rather than trying to fix things, replace, and do some of those things. When we look at our numbers and kind of our recommendations, we look holistically. So there's a lot of opportunities for efficiency within lighting that is going to provide a larger number of dollar number for savings. We want to focus on everything, whereas a boiler or a chiller or something like that is a larger ticket item but doesn't present as much from a energy savings standpoint. We still want to factor that in because that's a big impact on Chris and the workload for you folks and some of the bigger pain points that we see in facilities versus just taking the easy low-hanging fruit of lighting only. When we look at our numbers and kind of the savings dollars that we think we can present. I'll just kind of walk through what we found, which would be more so on the back page of the handout that you have. And Bob, please jump in anything that you'd like to add or comment if I speak out of turn. But at all the buildings, obviously lighting is something that we can find some efficiencies within. There's some areas that are overlit, some older technology that you could find some savings from. Just the energy management systems in general, controls at the courthouse, sheriff's department, can make a big impact on comfort as well as efficiency. And so that's kind of both sides of the table. We want to make sure that the environment is comfortable for those that are working and coming into those buildings. The chillers, chiller at the sheriff's department, the cooling tower at this building, both a couple of things that I'm sure that are on the horizon and things that could be failing at some point in the near future, unfortunately. So we want to make sure that those are addressed, or at least plans are in place that could address those. Those are going to be some of the larger ticket items and a little bit more of the complex systems where Johnson Controls is going to specialize and be able to make a good impact. From a cost standpoint, due to our speed to market, buying power, and some of those things that we bring to the table, and as well as just being able to address those the most efficient and effective manners. Looking really at kind of probably what stands out most to you all on the page is those savings numbers, 730,000 to 1.6 million. That's a pretty broad range. How do we come up with those numbers, and what does that look like? Those are what we feel that we can save between energy and kind of an estimate of operational savings over the next 20 years. That would be money the county could utilize to either pay for the debt service of making these upgrades, or utilize in other facets, on other projects that the county would have. Why is there a range there? Well, that's depending on what all we address on those lists that you see to the right of the buildings towards the top. So, we have a few different project variations that, some are budget neutral, whereas they do not require, any capital contributions from the county. Others would look at, a little bit of capital contribution, maybe redirecting some operational dollars that are being used towards facilities updates. Some of those dollars, Bob. Using some of the money that you've already budgeted to make some of the improvements, whether it's a capital improvement dollars or something like that over the next few years, contributing some of that would allow for a greater savings dollar, would allow for us to tackle more of the projects on the list. So that's kind of where the variables come into play. That's where we want to work with the county to see what makes sense. If this is something that we're, and I think I mentioned before, Johnson Controls we're not a financial institution, so we're on your side of the table when it comes towards looking at, how do we fund some of these projects, where does the money come from, what does that look like? That's something we would walk hand in hand with you, present, relationships that we may have with other financial institutions, but we don't make any money on financing. So our goal is to find the best financial project that makes sense for the county, from a spending standpoint, as well as updating the facilities as needed for critical needs. I'll pause there for questions or comments thus far, because I've been rambling a little bit.
Each one you have a building envelope. What is that?
Yeah, that's going to be anything where air can exit or enter the building, leaky windows and doors, things where there's poor insulation,
roof wall intersections. We find a lot sealing those, but that and doors and windows could be window frames. So fairly low cost item, but try to incorporate that on every project.
Which projects would be revenue neutral versus other?
Yeah, if we're looking from a savings standpoint, budget neutral is going to run around, the $730,000 number would be something you could tackle part of the items on the list without, quote unquote, requiring any additional capital dollars from the county. That's going to focus more around, lighting for sure, heat pump replacements in this building, potentially looking at the chiller at the Sheriff's Department, controls, so looking at controls in the Sheriff's Department and the courthouse.
Okay, so a big project like the chiller, how does that become revenue neutral?
Utilizing lighting, saving some lighting has a low payback, and that usually, items like that help drive replacement of capital equipment. Chillers more efficient, so there are some savings there as well. And then the dual duct VAV controls upgrade, that's another item where it's that could fit in there as well, with the lighting and the chiller. And that also has savings to the existing system. So, whereas the heat pump replacement, there's not a lot of savings there. That's mostly a cost item or a capital item.
Okay, so we have to come up with money up front, and then we just recoup it in savings is what it'd be.
Yep, so you're redirecting essentially redirecting the savings that you would generate from this project to go towards the debt service, or however that looks like from a county's financing standpoint. And that's what we would talk through with our structured finance team, kind of give ideas of ways that other counties have funded these types of projects, whatever makes sense from debt capacity, whether it's a tax exempt lease, bonding, existing capital. That's where we would talk through and help show some different paths.
So we could do a leasing agreement rather than a loan or a bond or something, possibly?
Yep, potentially. Okay.
Johnson
Johnson Controls, from a finance standpoint, like I said, we're not doing the financing or making any money off of that. That we don't feel comfortable with doing that. And a project of this scope, it doesn't make sense. If you were to pay us and kind of pay the lease from Johnson Controls or a contingent payment type program, the numbers would not make sense from a county perspective. Interest rates would not be good for you guys, really, to be honest with you, and so that's why we don't want to do that, because it's not fair to you guys. The good news is the numbers that we would put together from a financing, energy savings, again, all of that is guaranteed, so we will guarantee the savings so that you can count on that to be able to pay off the debt service or count on that additional capital coming in.
So as these are listed here, is this in like the priority that they would be, or?
It is not. There wasn't really a priority of the way that they're listed there. That was just the main focuses that we found at each building. And again, depending on the scope of the project that we mutually would agree upon, would include some or all of those different items. And that's where, once we would dive in a little further into this project, if Johnson Controls was selected as the infrastructure partner for the county, we would do a full investment grade audit to really dive into exact costs of each of these and exact energy savings numbers, walking contractors and have more line by line price quotes. So this is more of a high level overview just to get an idea that yes, there is a project potential there, not only from some needs that the county has that really should be looked at being addressed, that to help Chris and team be more effective, but also from a savings standpoint, you could see some pretty good energy savings that you should be taking advantage of, to help use those more effectively at the county level. And so that's kind of what the premise is at this point. The mutual sides, there's a project that we think that's worth investigating further and looking at development.
So at what point does somebody step in and kind of guide us through that financing process? Where do you guys come into that and kind of say,
Here's some options and how
yeah,
to...
exactly.
Yep. So the next step from here would be to look at procurement or selection of a partner, infrastructure partner. We obviously hope that it's Johnson Controls. If we were selected, we would start walking contractors, getting bids on everything. We would set up workshops with any and all county leadership that you feel should be in attendance. From a financing standpoint, from lighting workshops, we do a number of different workshops to kind of explain, here's what's going on. We want your input. Your input is critical to making sure that these projects go well. So we would talk through the financing, bring in our structured finance team to kind of explain, not here's what we recommend, but here's some options, here's how some other folks are addressing, here's what our interest rates are looking like, and really kind of talk through that with you to see what makes sense and how you would like to address that. And then if we would introduce to folks, we have relationships with lenders and so forth, but if you have your own organizations you'd like to work with, or not, we don't care there. We just want to help out. Same thing with any products and pieces. Again, I think I mentioned this before, but we're neutral. We manufacture York, I see on your shirt, Mr. Barron's, but we do, we'll use other manufacturers, other people. We just want to make sure the project goes well. The people, you're comfortable with the people doing the work, whether it's local or Johnson Controls folks, we're neutral there. So.
other questions?
Add, Bob?
Nope. If they need any more information on the ECMs or projects.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah.
I have something to say real quick about, I know a lot of you don't get to spend a whole lot of time over at the courthouse and the sheriff's department, jail obviously, but there is just a ginormous amount of waste over there as far as energy goes, whether it be like commented on the overly lit offices and areas and the old pneumatic system, that the equipment that's there is, like they said, it's in pretty good shape, but it's the system that's running it, and it's outdated, it leaks, it's to the point where you don't know where to begin, because having that all switched over to electronic, the thermostats and, louvers and whatnot, to direct the air where it needs to go, because quite frankly, it doesn't work anymore. It all needs calibrated somehow, and that would be a huge savings in itself. There's just a large amount of waste going on over there as far as heating and cooling goes. In offices that, you walk in one and it's 80, you walk in the next one, it's 55, and there's currently no way to control that other than the electric heaters that they're running in there, which are a waste in itself. Just stuff like that, the buildings, like I said, they are in good shape, the buildings. They're not that old, but stuff like that would, down the road, generate a huge amount of savings for the county.
From an engineering standpoint, how would you do the controls, do you think? I mean, would you have a central control system with sensors, or would you have individual thermostats in each office?
Both, yeah. For the courthouse, it's a dual duct PV, which is actually fairly complicated, for a small application. And that inherently has issues if you don't calibrate the pneumatic controllers, at least once a year, and thermostats. At a certain point, it just goes out of control, and what it's doing is mixing hot air and cold air. Isn't that efficient, but it does provide good control of the space temperature if it is controlled. So, unlike other systems, you have to have controls on there that are operable, or it's just mixing air and you're getting who knows what out of there. So, I think that's one of the keys there. But yeah, you need a front end for that. You need some sensors. There is some equipment. You replace the air handling unit, so I wouldn't convert or do another system or replace it. You put money into that. So, but yeah, there are new controls. So we need to put a new new controller on the dual duct VAV box that's in the ceiling, and then tie that into the main system. You would need new thermostats as well.
I guess the question was, is each office going to be able to control it, or is Chris going to control it from a central place?
No, each office would. Yeah, once you put, new thermostat is, you can need that obviously, but the key is putting the new controller on the box. And today's technology, digital controls, you can do that easier rather than mixing all the time. It goes through a different sequence, so you're not mixing. It's a little more efficient. So that'd be a conversion of the box that's in the ceiling. But yeah, and then once you get the box damper operating properly, yeah, then each room would be able to control independently.
And they're wireless, correct?
Yeah, we can go, we do go wireless. We just need to check that out as far as getting the proper signals, see if that, there's good connectivity in there. If there is, yeah, then we would go wireless. If not, we would just do that direct wire.
That's what we would, in the full audit, kind of present all that to what's going to be the most cost effective for the county and for the users' comfort. So.
Yeah, we would also install controls on the air handling unit, looking at the fans up there, making sure, because you got a supply and return fan, those have to track properly, to get the proper airflow know some pressure control issues as well. But yeah, once you get the full, you almost got to start at the box and then work to the air handling unit. Then you get a fully functional system where everything's tracking properly and you're controlling properly. But yeah, without that, it's a difficult system to maintain. You almost have to stay with it all the time.
Now, the chiller, what kind of a payback are we looking at on that if we do something with that?
Chiller's a long payback, but when you look at, cash flow, certain ECMs, I mean, that's why it does fit in here. It's a long payback. It is more efficient. Chillers are more efficient nowadays, but it does have some savings to contribute to that, so it does fit into the self-funding cash flow. I would say generally between, depends what load you're running at right now, but anywhere from 10 to 20%. And 20% is probably aggressive. Typically around 10 to 15% savings. So we've also broke out, and when we look at the savings, we take your bills and we work from your actual bill. So we break out from gas and electric each, like what the chillers, what your cooling load is, what your lighting load is. So we will actually break that out from the utility bills. We can do it fairly accurate, even though it's prelim stage. So we're not just throwing numbers out there. It's based on your actual usage and not some theoretical or what we normally see. So by the time we do the IGA or the detailed study, we should be close. I mean, they're realistic numbers.
Space-wise, if we replace the chiller, how big are the units, and are we going to have to bust the basement wall out to get the new unit in, or?
Didn't look at that. I've got to go back, but no, it looks like it would fit in there on the doors right now. We can always make it fit. I mean, we can tear the chiller down, but we're looking at just the evaporator bundle in there. If you want to go with the entire chiller in there, it might be a little more difficult to get that in. If we're just looking at the evaporator, we'd probably ship that in 2 pieces, so it should fit through any of the doors that I saw anyway.
Okay, I just know, I've heard of projects where they were busting walls out.
Yeah. Well, you got the compressor condenser unit outside, which helps, and you have the remote evaporator inside the room, so generally, from what I remember, I don't see any issues getting that in. Yeah, when we have to try to get the whole chiller inside, and that's when we start knocking walls down or poking a hole through the roof or something.
Just from roughly what you looked at, how long do you think the chiller and the cooling tower are good for yet? I mean, are we looking at a couple of years, or?
Yeah, 5 years. I would say 5 years. It's hard to tell without spending much time and doing some vibration analysis or something like that. Yeah, based on the age, I mean, you can keep it going as long as you want. It's just how much money, like an old car, how much you want to keep putting into that, replacing stuff. Yeah, I mean, it was me, I'd put it probably 5 years. Hopefully you're not, yeah, I would estimate you'll probably need a compressor, replace one of the compressors before then, depending on how long they replace one. No. That's usually something that comes up.
Now, as far as the heat pumps in here, we've been replacing them on a rolling basis as they go bad. So, I guess, have you looked at some of the newer ones, or should we be looking at, is there something more efficient we should be going with, or is what we're speccing out seem okay, or?
Yeah, for that, it's usually a small unitary size. Yeah, I mean, it's it's more efficient now, because compressors are, technology is more efficient. Yeah, so slightly more efficient, but there's nothing new out there. We look at geothermal, that, as far as heat pumps, so it doesn't change much. We look at the heat sink side, or the tower, the system that feeds it. And you're looking at geothermal, yeah, that's a really long payback. That's something you like. We've done a couple of those, several of those. But it's still not a lot of savings.
Well, with compressor technology anymore, they're getting enough more efficient that the geothermal.
Yeah. Well, you got a boiler there right now,
Yeah.
so I mean, if you were to eliminate the boiler and go to geothermal, it'd actually be less efficient in the wintertime, because you get colder temperatures going through there. You do get some benefit on the cooling side, because you get lower temperatures, but
With the cooling tower, is the geothermal more efficient than the cooling tower by a lot?
in the cooling season it is. Heating season, it doesn't have much pay or much benefit. But yeah, cooling season, at the start of the cooling season, you hit July and the core field will heat up, the ground sink will heat up, so. But yeah, overall it's definitely more efficient. Well, we look at, that's why I say we look at the utility bills. We actually extract that out, what the heat pumps are using, and fan motors and so on. So when you look at the actual usage, like do the savings based on that, so you're not spending a whole lot right now, so slightly higher than normal, but still 20% of a little bit, still a little bit.
Anybody else got questions?
I guess from our standpoint, the request or the next steps generally would be, looking at selecting a partner to move forward with infrastructure improvements, whether, some form of procurement, whatever makes sense for the county, and we can talk through that, but that would be our request, is to formally, hopefully, be selected to work with you and
Well,
to look at implementing these.
we're still gathering information.
Yep,
so-
I know, yep, I understood, so.
This is the best.
He missed the first part, so explain that dollar amount to him.
Yeah, so obviously it's a wide range there, and that's going to depend on, out of this list here, what all we would go after, and then various project breakdowns have a little bit of capital contribution on your side, and depending on what all's implemented, so that's why there's a little bit of variation.
Yeah,
but
that's what I kind of gathered from listening.
Yep, sure thing. So that's where we would all obviously sit down and once we've fully developed this and decide what kind of a shopping cart of what you want to go after, what the savings come along with that, and any capital that would be requested on your side and stuff.
Yeah.
I got a question, maybe just in review, because it's all new to me.
Yeah.
You said next thing that needed to be was selecting a partner. Would you be selecting the partner, or would we be?
So it'd be whether we went with them or with one of the others that have presented.
I thought maybe you meant a contractor locally partner.
No, so yeah, and that's a good question. So if we were selected out of the other folks that you're talking with, then we would begin the process of fully developing this, which would include us, putting out RFPs or bids under Johnson Controls to select partners for people, parts, pieces of each piece of the project. So we would find partners.
I'm sorry.
Yep, no, it's a great question.
When you're looking for partners, do you just put it out to everybody, or how much luck do you have with finding local people?
Yeah, and that can vary. A lot of that's up to the county as well. So if you have vendors or we like to keep labor local if possible. So if there's some qualified partners locally that we could work with. We'd love to have them involved and, get their bids. Our goal is to be, as transparent for you, on behalf of you, to get the best qualified folks to work with at the best, financial side of things as well. Bob can elaborate on that maybe a little bit more, but it's,
Yeah, we'll do a background check or go through our process of vetting it out, and if it all checks out, then we'll put it on our list of contractors. We have some down here, but there's also, it depends on the ECM, some are the complexity of that. So it depends on what we go with, but try to use as much local as we can.
Yeah, because we'd prefer them to have the local ones working on it, so you good.
yeah, it's good for the county, good for local business. We create a lot of jobs when we do projects like this and bring a lot of revenue locally if we can. And we've had organizations that was a prerequisite that all labor is local, and we're more than happy to do that if those folks and the parts meet the specifications and are qualified to do so. More than happy. So it's a win for everybody.
Down the road, say we do go forward with, a handful of these items, what sort of support then after the fact, say we're 2, 3, 4 years down the road, what sort of support do you offer as far as guidance and help and whatnot? Like, okay, say we start to have an issue with the chiller after a couple of years now, is that something you guys would provide, or is that we would have to deal with those contractors who installed that in the first place? I guess warranty, for lack of a better term, something like to that nature.
Yeah, we, actually, that all falls on us, so with anything that we do, it's kind of we're the sole responsible party, so.
Okay.
Regardless if it's lighting controls, or chiller, or cooling tower, you would come to us for that, any warranty work, and associated with that.
Can you give Chris another one of those sheets to give to the sheriff?
Sure. Yeah.
Because he's gonna,
Couple of
Chris,
Chris, sorry, I'm sorry.
'cause he's gonna have to be in the loop on a couple of
Yep.
buildings, so.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? I guess we thank you for coming, and we'll let you know.
Will do. If any further questions, reach out. Appreciate your time and allowing us to come back.
Good presentation, thank you.
Were you here last month?
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's right.
Thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it. We'll be in touch. Yeah. Thanks so much, guys.
The guy from Smart Lot was here earlier, but since they were here, he's thinking that they're gonna have their presentation ready for next month.
Who is?
Smart Lot.
Okay.
The other guy, he sent the updated terms that Jim wanted,
Okay.
and so I forwarded that to Jim, but I haven't heard back. So, if I get something back before then, but it's what Jim asked, but just wanted to make sure.
All right. Anybody got anything else on building?
Some of that stuff could be done by just us without an outside firm.
The lighting could be done over time by us, a lot of it.
Over here, yeah, once you get over in the courthouse and jail, it gets a little bit crazy,
Your
overwhelming. to be
ceilings
honest
are
with you.
higher and everything else.
Yeah, and just the sheer number of fixtures.
I know you got enough of your own work here, but that's a question to ask anyway.
Yeah, and it's, all of them have said, you pick and choose your project, so,
That might be a step later down the road for us before we accept any project.
yeah.
Might be, in case you recommend it or don't recommend it. I think his word says a lot, a project like that.
And, yeah, and they said overlighting in areas, are there some offices that they mentioned were overlit, or?
They kind of chuckled at the sheer fact of the number of fixtures when they would poke their head in an office over there. It could be half of what is in the ceiling there. It's so inefficient over there. It's crazy.
Less Fisher, but more powerful bulbs and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Well, that would, the LEDs tend to do better, or they'll give you the same amount for less.
Okay.
The whole hallway's LED now.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. I did that I can talk about this in my maintenance
It's time
requirements.
for your report.
It is?
Yes.
Well,
You're next on the
that is-
agenda.
And they're still the only one that has put the phrase guaranteed savings, right, that they will back.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
They're the only one
Well-
so far. He explained it last time, that,
right, and maybe when the others give their presentation, they may do it
Okay.
too, I don't know. But, yeah, that is something to look at, is,
What was that?
And
John-
Rita did mention that if the savings is not what they say, they cut you a check.
Johnson Controls on here, they put on here again that the performance and savings are guaranteed, so there's no risk. That's just a phrase we want to watch for and clarify to make sure. What's funny is some of those other firms had done some research, they use Johnson Controls for a lot of their stuff, yeah. It's like the supplier is also the provider, and so they win no matter what.
Figured out.
They're good, that's why they're who they are. Doesn't mean it's a bad thing, it's just,
So then what would be the next step as far as, because they just left and it was left at that out in...
well, we've still got two others to get a presentation as to savings and stuff from them, and what they'll cover.
Because here, probably later this week, I'll get an email from Jason, he'll inquire a bit about, I'll just keep them posted and say, yeah, we have other entities coming in.
Yeah.
get Smart Watt and that other guy to come in next month and, we want to narrow down.
I mean, Smart Watt did, he said he didn't want to stay because if he gave his presentation same as them, it would get awful long for us, and so,
He just kind of showed up anyway.
yeah.
I had no clue he was coming.
Yeah, and he said that they really wouldn't have their presentation ready till next month.
Okay.
So I think he was just checking in to see where we were at. Why do a presentation if we already awarded it to somebody, but, so. Your report, sir.
Yes, nothing big or crazy this month. Like I started to talk about, I did part of the maintenance and repair for the admin building this month. I bought 100 LED T8 bulbs, and I worked as 2.5 days of time total I put in, and I did convert every hallway. Everything you see in the hallways is now LED. One of the men's restrooms is LED. The break room, employee break room is LED, and I have a handful left over. Nothing really not enough to do an office. I want to kind of wait and see how much we wanted to start spending on that because they are pricey. It does add up. But I did something kind of cool. There's all sorts of websites and whatnot that you can plug in what you've done into these savings calculators and get a rough idea. I didn't know offhand, some of you maybe know of what we pay per kilowatt hour. It's not 12 cents, is it?
Do you have that, Anita?
Both of these.
Not off the top of my head.
It's a little less than
I
that.
could have gotten it, but I didn't know.
Well, but you're basing off of flow.
Right.
What we had and what we have
Sure.
now, so it's a number.
And just with, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. If I can look at the claims, it's probably on there, right? I'll look at that while he's talking.
A lot of the fixtures, were actually 4 bulb fixtures down on that end, like maybe a third of them, and I've reduced those down just to 2. We're looking at 128 watts of fixture, and now I'm taking down to 30. And just roughly with what I've done, we're looking at, over the course of a year, almost $600 in savings. No,
Or no, just how many?
just replacing the 100 bulbs.
100
You're
bulbs.
looking at almost $600 over the course of a year.
That's wonderful.
So, I mean, you take that, and like I said, it's not free, you had to pay for bulbs,
What
but
would it cost the bulbs?
they're $9 a bulb. And these, the T8s, they're pushing 6. So, I mean, they're a few dollars more, but the T8 is rated 8,000 hours. The LEDs are 50,000 hours.
Yeah.
But you're saving about $6 a year, so in a year and a half, you pay for the bulb,
Yeah,
and the bulb ought to last,
you sure would think.
you know.
And all these T8s too, with the exception of a handful that I'm just pitching because they're getting ready to go with the burn ends and whatnot, I'm saving all of those, and I can use all those bulbs up over there. So, right there's another small amount of savings, so. It's actually kind of like,
So what T8 bulbs do we have in there?
they're fluorescent tubes, they're 32-watt fluorescents.
Cause I just, and how much were they costing us to replace the normal T8 that we had?
They're about $6 a bulb,
Holy cow, I just,
5 and change.
wow. Yeah, cause I just, you know, I'm doing maintenance stuff at the school.
We'll say a dozen of them for $4.50 a bulb.
Well, no, I bought, at Gordon's, I bought, high efficiency T8s with 40,000 for, $3.
Really?
Yeah.
40,000 what?
Hour, 5,000 or lumen, the daylight ones.
Yeah, that's a good price.
Yeah, because I was looking at the LED and they're like, well, yeah, so, it was, now the LED prices were that price.
Yeah. There are places I've seen online and whatnot where you can get T8 LEDs for $4 and whatnot.
Yeah.
But they only have a couple-year warranty.
Yeah.
These have a 5-year warranty, and that's nothing too. Because I got them just up here at Plum Mart, Robbie ordered them for me, and he said, any time in that 5-year period, he said, you bring it in, he said, you know, no questions asked, he said, because then he passes that on to his supplier, so.
Question is, well, are you putting in each one when you put the bulb in? Otherwise, in 2 years, you're gonna be, well, you know,
Right.
when should I do when? And
Yeah, but some of them do take a little longer, because a lot of the ends, especially the 4-ball fixtures, the ends are, they're just one pin on either end, so I'm having to swap out the ends themselves, which, you know, adds another few minutes, but,
now, do you have ends, or
well, I bought them, I didn't just have them in my pocket.
you don't just have them in the pocket?
No, excuse me. No, I bought those too, they're like, yeah, you always just carry those around?
Well, yeah, don't you?
I'm gonna start now.
Bulgy pockets, we thought it was money before, now it's more,
No, I just replaced a few of
his
those.
parts are
actually.
more expensive than
I
money.
do have the 2 bulbs too. You can take with you. But as far as that goes, it's actually kind of fun doing it. There's something different to do there for a while. Moving on, I won't be real long here. Had all the fire extinguishers in all 3 buildings needed renewed. So that's done. Some of the boilers, a couple of the boilers, you know, were flashing some error codes, but there was nothing that I was able to troubleshoot all that stuff myself. I don't know if any of you have noticed over at the courthouse and jail, there's no longer cell phones allowed inside the courthouse building. And so I had to order and have made up some signs on the north and south side of the courthouse and decals on the doors and whatnot, because I guess it was turning into an issue, like in courtrooms. And so cell phones, they're not even supposed to bring them in the building, but if they do, they're checked at the door. So that was something that I had to have made up. And I've got all but one sign done so far. The mole issue that was brought up last month, I've addressed that with, I didn't want to start putting traps out there for obvious reasons with people and kids around and stuff, but I wouldn't advise growing any edible vegetables out in front of the building. There's a lot of poison baits and whatnot down in the tunnel, so we'll see what happens with that. Here in the next month or so, all the filters I've been doing this spring and fall, there's close to 50 filters on all the air handlers and whatnot. And last year when I first started, all those got swapped out, and it's probably this month, I will do all of those again. A couple of belts have to be swapped out on some air handlers. Seems every month there's a belt or two somewhere that either breaks or starts slipping because it's stretched out or whatnot. But other than that, just a lot of daily little routine stuff. I had to get some new batteries for the fire alarm system here. They were shot and they're flashing a buzzer at me, so I had to swap. I had to order them from Napa because you can't just buy those around. But other than that, that's all I have to report.
How is your maintenance budget looking? Are you going to be able to afford to buy another 100 bulbs and still be on track, or?
Yeah, I would like to, but I mean, it's pushing another $900 there.
And I know you're already stretching it.
Well, we're 4 months in and I've used 22% of that budget, so I mean, it's on track, but you can't plan on things breaking, you know.
Right. I mean,
Doing,
if doing that hallway saves us $600, and
I want to try to do something as well that the lights were on a lot, because I open the building and I light the hallways, you know, sometimes at 6:30 in the morning, and they get shut off by the housekeeper when she leaves at 4:30. So, you know, maybe we could do this room. I don't know if the warrant doing this room if it's used enough, or the offices probably make more sense. You know,
because this is only used for meetings, so you're an hour here and an hour there versus all day.
I even had a couple offices and tenants say they may be next because they liked the way it looked out there. They said it was a little bit brighter, and I've had some comments on the flip opposite side of the spectrum too, like, oh, that looks awful. I think people just inherently like to complain about stuff.
Now, there's a projected savings here. Is there any way we can take that projected savings to pay for some of this, or, because that's in two different accounts, the electrical savings versus...
It is in two different accounts, but in reality, it kind of ends up in that department. I mean, from a budgetary standpoint, the way we have Attorney General's opinions that say, really, you're looking at services, which is personnel costs in one bucket, either contract services or employee costs, capital improvement, or other. So your other is your utilities in that maintenance department, utilities and repairs and maintenance would be included in that same bucket. If it were to happen in the same fiscal year, you would be okay. So you would theoretically spend less on your utilities line and then spend more on your repairs and maintenance line, and it should wash, hopefully.
So there is a way to have the money if there's maintenance a little bit.
If it's realized in the same fiscal year, yes.
So if I do spend a little more on bulk now, and we're saying it's down the road, you know, say we're in October, and
Right.
all of a sudden the budget's getting really close, like, oh,
Right.
I want to make sure everything works out.
There is potential, but remembering that you already have budgetary problems.
Yeah.
So,
Well, if the electric bill comes in $50 less next month, then we know it works.
Yeah.
right,
I mean,
right.
you know,
Well, I guess.
what to look at is to see if,
So what do you think your plan is? Do you think you're going to be able to get another box of bulbs and get something done, or?
am I allowed? Do you want me to spend money on that?
those calculators. I would say get kind of what our actual kilowatt rate is and repunch those numbers this way, because the kilowatt rate is a little bit higher.
Because I don't think we paid 12, do we?
I don't know.
I don't know. And the delivery charge isn't in there. I mean,
Yeah.
just the Ameren charge is in there, not the actual electricity charge isn't in there this month. I don't know if it didn't come in time or more than likely, but
Kind
it's
of-
not in your claims.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. It One cool thought, way to think of it is, if we did get the whole building done, it would be like every day having half the lights lit.
Mhm.
You know, it'd be like one half the building blacked out, and run, you know. It's kind of cool, really.
Maybe you should get some prices on bulbs from a couple different suppliers that are in the area, see if they, I mean, $1 a bulb adds up.
Yeah, it does.
I know Gordon's was in that $9 range too. They were just really cheap on the fluorescent bulbs that I picked up, and I was shocked.
Yeah.
So,
How many, estimate how many bulbs total you're gonna need for this building?
No, I haven't. Yeah, I do know almost exactly, because a long time ago, last summer at one point, I did a fixture count in this building, and I have it down in my office, and offhand, I don't remember what it is. It's just written on a piece of paper down there somewhere. Well, that was before when we had the Osram company come in, they were gonna come in, and I wanted to kind of figure out, but
Now, these are all 2 bulb ones in some of the offices, or the 4 bulb ones that can be reduced down to 2 bulbs?
there's even a couple like nightlight ones that I've reduced down to 1.
Okay. I guess, what do we want to go ahead with another 100 bulbs? And I think one more box is probably still within your budget.
Absolutely. Let's
So,
go another
I
day,
moved
we'll
it
go
by
another
another
month.
100.
Yeah, I agree.
That could get a couple,
I mean,
make some calls.
The only thing I see, if I'm missing something, and we went efficiency with him, then turn around one of these services and
we just won't,
efficiency again,
no, we just won't choose lighting improvements for the county offices.
For this
This
building.
building's simple for him to do.
yeah, we'd still be behind what they recommend. We go to a smaller number of bulbs and higher wattage.
Well, the one guy was talking a 24 volt system, but
Yeah.
I don't think these two are still talking.
I'm not recommending either way. I want to, in my mind, figure out, are we talking
I think,
improvement upon improvement?
I think if Chris does it the way he's doing it, I think that's gonna be, with the technology today, that's gonna get us about as good a savings as you're gonna get, whether
That's
it's...
the important thing, that's all
Yeah.
I want to know. If it washes out, fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bit less than we pay an outside contractor.
Right.
Walk around that courthouse building sometime, start to pay attention. It's so, that's not a one-man job over the course of a few months.
No, I mean, you're gonna have to have scaffolding for that entry area.
And the courtrooms are just, they've got some weird stuff going on there that it's,
And that's gonna have to all be scheduled around when courts and sessions.
right. First little Whately's, I came in on a Sunday afternoon and started because I was bored, I needed something to do. So I was like, yeah, I'll go start doing that, because I haven't bulbs, I hadn't started yet, I was kind of itching to get going on it. And that's what I did, just that area down there, by the 911 area and all that, and to see how it was gonna go and how much time it was gonna take me and whatnot. But the other stuff I just did during the day, I turned the lights off and just went at it.
And one more box of bulbs is gonna be about what you'd be able to get done in a month anyway, right?
It's like another batch, you mean, like
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So we'll do that, I'll buy another batch, and then next month, we'll sit at this point, and we'll say, hey, we need to stop this, or continue on, so. Sound like a plan?
Maybe I thought I did in my head.
No, Chad moved to go ahead and have you buy them. So,
These are ballast bypass bulbs.
Yeah, you just wire them on one end.
Yeah. Not the plug.
Some of the fixtures, some literally take, you made the comment, it takes about as long to take that shroud down, that pain in the butt reflector, and put it back up as it does. To actually do it, it depends how it's set up there, because sometimes the wires meet are on one side, sometimes are on the other. You have to wire in jumpers and whatnot, and those take, maybe 15 minutes for fixture, whereas another one might take you 5 minutes. You don't know what you're gonna get into, but, I don't know, it's kind of fun.
We have a motion and a second, so go ahead and do roll. Barb seconded.
Alt,
Yes.
Asperger.
Yes.
Johnson. Yes. McGinnis.
Yes.
Awful. Yes. Aaron.
Yes. Anything else on your report?
That's all I have right now.
Okay. Okay, discussion and action on Southside Courthouse parking lot. We don't have the specs from Joel yet, but we can still send it, move to send it for bids. Hopefully by the time the board meeting is, where we'll have those to include in the packet. And they were basically going to engineer it to where they thought that bids would come in to what is budgeted. Because he said there's all kinds of ways you could do it. So he's going to take the budget number and they were going to engineer it so it should come into that. So I guess if anybody got any questions on that?
This is about asphalt.
Yeah, that's why, we don't know what the specs should be. Joel asked what we wanted for specs, and I don't know, that's why it's coming to you. He's the,
Highway, yeah.
What do you mean by specs?
Thickness,
yeah, everything under it.
base, is it?
And they wanted to make sure over there, because they didn't think they could skim it very good without just tearing it up, but they wanted to make sure that when they put the layer over it, that it wasn't going to back up water other places. So he was going to check into all that for us. So,
And those numbers that came up with, those guesstimate numbers initially for the budget, I did talk with IPC last summer. I spoke with Curtis Luke, he's an engineer out there, and he roughly gave me that ballpark number. It's not anything exact, but that would involve, literally getting all that torn out and then start fresh and do the whole new lot, so.
okay.
So that's where those numbers came from. They weren't just like,
Yeah.
random numbers I came up with.
Once we have more questions, we need a motion to go ahead and send it out for bid.
Make a motion to send that out for bid.
Second.
Second.
What are you setting out for bid?
Redoing the south parking lot at the courthouse.
Oh, okay.
And Joel should have all the specs for us in time for the bid packets to go out. We still got to go through the full board meeting and
Does he
everything.
have the bottom line number?
Yes, and they were going to engineer it to hopefully be close to that.
And what is the bottom line number?
Well, it's in the budget, and since we don't want everybody saying, oh, well, we can spend this much, I can tell you that afterwards. Because we don't want everybody that's going to be bidding.
Well, it's a public number.
It is, but we don't have to make it easy for them to spend all our money.
So you're making a motion to approve it, and then
To
the
send
final
it for-
number will be stated
Well,
before?
we're sending it out for
For
bid.
bid.
Oh, sending it out.
Yeah, we still have to send it out for bid.
We're not approving the project.
It's over the $30,000, so it has to be bid.
All right.
So, we got a motion and a second, so I guess we'll call.
Alt,
Yes.
Asperger.
Yes.
Johnson. McGinnis.
Yes.
Awful. Yes. Aaron.
Yes. Okay, county farm management issues. You all have a copy of a letter from Microgrid Energy. Just wanted to make you aware that this was out there. We still have the lease for a couple more years. This is something if you thought we wanted to look into it or not.
I think we should definitely look into this.
A lot more income.
A lot more income. There's that option that they talk about, and during the option period, you can still continue to use the land, so it would still be farmable at that point in time. So I definitely think that we should encourage this.
Do we want to have them come in and give a presentation, or do we want to wait till we're done with the energy efficiency stuff?
No, I think we should get these guys in here and talk to them right away.
And if we get one in, then I'm sure it's going to get out there and everybody's going to want to come. We should have a copy of it.
Well, we've already had.
Now, this is, they're renting the property for this, is not buying the property.
Correct.
Right.
There's a big difference between that, because
So you get a pretty good price per
we're not
acre
even sure
at
we
least
can
for it.
sell it.
I think the board already said no, because farm rent might go up in 10 years to $800 an acre. I mean,
No, what the board, the way I remember it, the board said at that point, they were going to rent the ground out.
Yeah,
That
I'm
doesn't-
not against
Yeah, I mean,
see
that
what they
doesn't mean
offer, I
that we
just,
can't look at what,
because
you know,
there's, I mean, at that time, there's like 2 or 3 companies that were,
right.
Well, once they put the
You can
panels
rent
in,
the-
can they take them out?
yeah.
Yeah.
And they restore the land, just
Yeah,
like
our
us.
ordinance makes them, and most of them, they don't use concrete anymore, they just pile drive.
These guys only are talking 10 to 20 acres. The other ones I know weren't talking that much acreage either, but
They're all 10 to 20.
yeah.
How many years, 20 to 30 years?
Yeah, but it's $800.
You can always approach the farm operator to take out a 10 to 20
Yeah.
acres in less than a 3-year period of time, when you figure you've got 800 acres.
Make a bid,
And it's a separate parcel
So how do you
too.
do it, so I guess?
especially right now with
See, they have
our
this,
budget. But we'll never get,
Yeah,
we'll never
so
get
they
800
could still
an
farm it
acre
for
on
3
farm.
years until they were.
until they're actually.
Exactly, so they're contracted to.
I think they mentioned $1,000 an acre when they was, they mentioned.
One company was
One
offering
company
us,
was
one company was offering us
Well, you
$1,000.
gotta do it at winter time,
Right.
but if we wait 3 years, we'll be.
So I don't know if that's the same parcel.
Exactly.
I think it was,
I don't see it on here, but I
So
think
I-
it was the parcel right by the highway department.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's where this is, right near the highway.
That's what they were looking
Yeah.
at.
Just south of it, probably,
I think it was east and
across
It
the
was-
road.
across the road.
Oh, okay.
So
it might have been across the road.
There's that kind of.
Okay, we have to make a bit of
I think it was right here.
a motion to have.
No, we can't make any.
They're just letting us know they're interested.
Well, and we got this after
Maybe they'll come in a couple
the
of years.
deadline for putting it on the
Panels went
agenda,
down.
it's a farm issue.
Check them in
So
Clear River.
we really can't take any action other than to say, yes, we wanted to come in and I can
Yeah,
see if we can get somebody here.
Say we're not responsible for flooding.
yeah.
Okay. Anybody have anything else on county farm issues?
We're not planning this week.
No, I don't think they are. Okay.
I did look, but
I have a feeling they're not yet.
Update on office space. Were you able to talk to anybody, Chad? I know you had said something about.
Yeah, I sent, I don't know if you got the text, the, couple just contractors, I just told them roughly, the 8 by 10, and they figured 2,000 to 2,500 to do it, but they recommended budgeting 4,000 to 5,000, just because they don't, that's what they always, but they said the price should be, 2,000 to 2,500, which
To do what?
who you're
to
talking
build,
To build an office.
just a couple contractors, construction contractors, just to kind of get a rough estimate of what it would cost
The budget number,
to
basically.
make a second office in that animal control room, per the board's request, which is what we messed up on last month of not having that number. So,
So, shouldn't we narrow it down to an exact contract before we put it out?
we're not even at that
No.
point.
We,
It's just
First
an
we gotta-
estimate to say.
yeah, we gotta
if
have
you
an
needed
estimate, then we
something.
gotta figure out, okay, how we paying for it, because there's nothing in your maintenance budget anymore.
Yeah, there's,
So we got,
And the VA lady, I talked with her, and she says she actually has a contractor that's one of her clients, told her he'd do it for nothing, for her work.
well, that's in her office.
Right, down on her end.
yeah, that's not our
He
end.
would do it for nothing, he said.
Yeah, we're taking, yeah, I didn't include what they might do, because they, from the very beginning, they would take care of their thing.
I would think we would be careful to use a contractor materials or whatever to blend in with everything else we don't want.
So,
I guess that would be something, any changes made, we kind of want to
Watch over that.
have
Yeah.
some kind of approval, whether
this
it's...
was just a rough ballpark, so that, so,
If they just provide funds, fine.
Well, but if they want to use their own contractor, but, I mean, they
that's
want
easy
to...
to manage. But that's
Yeah,
a separate, so, my perspective, there's, right now with this, snow and all that stuff, there's no money in the budget.
any ideas
Right
on
now.
where to come up with money for it?
The only other option is, and it goes back to leaving, Ken and IR right where they are, and put, Jen over there, but have her build remember we had the idea of a little meeting room, a space in there, have her go 12 feet or 14, whatever the measurement was, 15 feet in, and just put up a wall, and that can be a waiting area, plus it can also be for negotiations days, a used space for that, and she would just have to adjust her hours during that time frame, and then the only person that's affected is the chairman's office, and they would just move into the more public hallway. But then that would give her the space, and that would give Jen the space that she needs to meet the requirements to get the work studies in.
Does it still give her enough space if you take 12 feet out?
Yeah, it's still the same amount. It's probably better space as far as layout goes, because that room is 41, almost 42 long. So by just shy of 14 wide. So if we back, I think the original plan was 15 feet. So I'll fix my math. I got migraine. Oh.
Yeah, I did leave that up. I took that off.
So if we backed 31, 27, it'd still give her a 27 by 14, which someone has a calculator, you can do a quick square footage, and I think it might come up even better than the
It would be fine, I'm sure.
27 by 10 is 270.
370.
Yeah, so it's probably about 50 square feet more than what those 3 offices are, but it's not, it's better as far as how she would have to move people around, because
And
so
again, if she puts a wall to make that so it was conference available or whatever, then all she has to do is put a door.
Yeah,
She's still
and
gonna
they'll
have-
pay for it.
It's not gonna adjust her hours.
And we don't have to
or
worry, with that 15-foot space, we wouldn't really have, I can draw a new picture, but, yeah, no, that's fine. So, I feel like I'm back in grade school again. This is therapy. So, we'll say 14, and, it's actually 4110, but, so, if we do at the 15-foot, and I don't know, maybe we do 16, that would leave 27 between here, and this is 41 total, and if just put a wall there and a door, or whichever, figure out where the door, but you can have a waiting area for her, but also you can have a table. It's dual purpose negotiation days to solve that issue without affecting break room. She could just say, I'm not meeting clients today. She could go do outreach. She could adjust for that, but they pay for it. That's the only way I could think to help satisfy negotiation concerns. Also, several seem to like a spot to be able to come and, the day she's not using it, and then this office would stay there, and if this is, so this is the total space, this is 14, so really, you know, her space, I know it doesn't add up, but it's like 13, so. And that gives her perhaps to do the actual interviews, but, I mean, we can rearrange however, I'm just trying to think, leave that side alone, leave them alone, leave Ken alone, let him do his thing, so that someday if he does get an assistant, he's got it. Find a way to give us our negotiation space,
And just for
but, and we can,
people,
you know,
that space would be from about here over to the doorway, so that would be the size of the space.
I mean,
That's good.
we could back it to 16 if we wanted and, you know, and still stay in the same ballpark.
So, where would the chairman's office be?
Jen's
Where-
office.
In that main hallway.
And he's fine with that, he said he'd kind of like
Yeah.
a more public office
Yeah.
anyway for people to be able to see
Right.
him.
Well, whoever, yeah, that,
Whoever.
so, but that's a thought,
Mm-hmm.
just in try to
Right.
solve everyone and,
That's fine.
with our budget, I don't know.
So,
And,
before we send this to the board again, let's make sure it's okay with everybody. I don't want to go there and then come back and, you know,
it's okay with Jen.
well, ask a few
I
more
know.
people just to make
I can go
sure.
see if she's next door, but I say, you know,
That's
she's
the space
fine
you
with
wanted
it,
to start
so.
with, so I know it'd be okay with her.
Yeah, well, no, I
but
talked to her
but
about
it'd
that.
be less space in it, but,
No,
well,
it's better, it's actually not, square footage wise, it's not less.
Well,
I don't, no,
it's
it's
less
right.
than if she had the whole thing, is what I meant.
Yeah,
What's
she's
less.
fine with that
Okay.
piece,
And that's where,
because she doesn't need the whole thing.
well, it was an awful big space, yeah.
I mean, she doesn't need the whole thing. Now, if she grows it and actually is generating the revenue indirect, you know, and like she's doing now, then, you know, at that point, we have other options to look at, but she also has to earn that space,
Right.
you know,
Now,
but it'll meet the VA requirements. Actually, it'll meet the requirements better.
well, if we have a table here, our doors
Table.
right now are center.
Yeah,
So you'd have to either make sure there's enough clearance or else move the door here, and then you could actually put a wall, which would make the space smaller though.
Why
Well-
would you
Make
want
it
a
too
wall?
choppy.
if you want to keep it, I guess,
You know,
more private, but
that would be the only thing, but that does
But I
cut
don't know
down,
if that-
because you're
yeah.
gonna need at least a 4-foot hallway.
yeah. So I think it gives us the space that can be used when she's not and for negotiations. And I know she's fine with it, because I talked to her just when I bounce ideas, because I explained to her, you know, the budget's not going to support our end of it, and that's, so I'm fine.
Well, let's talk to,
There's no one to talk to.
well,
Who,
so they would cover the
yeah,
budget.
And
she
I
has a
can-
volunteer
and here's the thing.
contractor that'll do her work.
well, we will oversee
Cost
that
too.
piece.
Yeah.
We'll oversee that piece. But yeah, she's got some connections where it might not even cost anything out of her budget, because there's some folks that would donate materials and all that.
What's the flooring in there?
What room? Animal control.
Animal
Let me
control.
go see if she's there. I'll just, she can verbally tell us that she's fine with that.
I can picture both
Because there's gonna,
in my head.
because if we take that row of shelves out of there, that counter out of there,
Right in the front.
yeah, we're gonna have to do something with the floor.
Yeah.
True.
Put the table over it.
Part of all your walls.
You know, that's where, it's the little details that get me. Somebody might build the walls, but if somebody's gotta come in and do flooring, then that's,
It's true.
You'd never match what's down there.
no, you'd end up having to
The whole
do
floor.
that, well, at least that space.
That whole
'cause
area,
if I remember right, if you take the counter off, it'd just be from there forward that would have to be redone, but. And then there'd have to be some electrical done for lighting. So, I mean,
You know how those kind of projects go.
yeah, well, and that's where, you know, they said, you know, a couple $1,000, but budget twice that much, so that's.
By the way,
She
you
was
just
in there.
scared the daylights
I know, I
out
did it on
of me.
purpose. So I went to go get Jen to reiterate from our conversation that, she'd build the wall. I mean, you know, get it done before the president does. So she'll build the wall. That was
I
a
was
joke.
thinking the exact same too, but.
So, and she'd cover the cost of it, and the 15 feet, and show again, 15 feet,
Well, just counting tiles, it's to about here and then over to the doorway almost.
so it's a 15 by 14 waiting area, negotiations area, dual purpose, whatever. But then your space would roughly be 27-ish, give or take.
Okay,
That office, John would move to your office.
okay.
And then that should satisfy the A requirements for work study. And I think after looking at some of their GSA, I think it'd be better. The
And that
question
way
we have is, the county, we have no money in our budget to
Okay.
build this wall.
Okay,
So if you, for the motion to pass, you would have to say, yeah, your group, you would find the funds to build it.
And
But we would have oversight, we want to see the plan. The management committee just wants to know that when it
We'll
gets
pay
that
for
point.
it.
Yes.
Right, but it's
There's something else yet, though,
still, it's not whether you'll pay for it or not, it's just
the flooring.
to keep the precedent that it's our building, so that the next person that wants to remodel their office, we want to have oversight on.
Yes,
Totally.
yeah,
We're
so,
in total agreement.
so like if you have a contract, you know, some of your vets that say they'll come in, we just want to say, yeah, we'll let you do that.
Okay,
We don't-
basically,
It's,
you know, you tell us where we need to put our stuff at, and they'll come in and do
Yeah.
it.
Well, and when we take that counter out, then that's going to leave the floor, so we're going to need flooring, carpeting or whatever. You know, it's more than just the wall, because then electrical's going to have to be moved. So I don't know how much money you have, because we have none.
Okay. My budget rolls over from year to year to year.
Yeah.
So I'm certain, let me put it past my board, to see if they're willing to go with that, and I'm certain that they will.
And
But I
Chris
can't,
can show you exactly or whenever I don't have keys to that room, but that counter has to come out, and there'll have to be, you know, I'll say it's flooring, you know, tile, carpet, whatever to fix
I
that
think there's
space.
carpet in there now, so.
Yeah, because I'm sure that counter is on, maybe it's sitting on tile, but I don't know. But
So,
that
yeah.
area,
We're not opposed to that at all,
Okay.
because, I mean, we do have money in our budget for certain things like that. You know, electrical, it can't be a whole lot,
if
and that
it's
would
electrical,
just-
well, if it's electrical in that counter space, that would have to get,
Well, and if you have that wall,
You still
when
need
you
one or
walk
two
through there,
outlets.
you want to be able to flip the light switch there.
Right,
yeah.
right.
It's
Well,
tiled.
as it is now, I have to walk across my office and do it on the other wall, but that's not a
Yeah.
big deal.
It's tiled
It's tiled
to,
right up to it, and then it's all carpet.
yeah, so we don't know what's under.
Right.
If it's tile under, it might tie up right, but, or we'll just have to put carpet down in that waiting something.
So, let me speak with, I will
Yep.
be speaking with some of my board members this evening at a Legion meeting. Let me see, so we're talking electrical, you know, possibility of flooring and,
The wall.
building the wall.
And your, whatever, the door.
How's the heating set up in there?
I don't know if I believe
It's,
I don't think it would need diverted a bit, because, I think there's a heat pump just designated for that whole office itself.
Okay, so it'd just be a matter of moving the register around.
I think
a little
so.
something.
adding one just for this space. Because this space here should already have, it's just as long as the wall's not on the register.
It would probably just be moving or adding another one somewhere.
I just, yeah, just a different
I don't
Small
foresee it
fee.
being a huge problem, but let me speak
Yep.
with my board members.
That's the plan,
And
so
we'll
that's-
just go to.
So could we make that contingent upon what your board says? If we
Yeah, I'm sure that they're gonna go with it, but I
Yeah.
can't speak for them.
Well, rather than going to the board and then them sending it back to us all the time, why
Can
don't
I
you
just
get
bring it to
approval
the-
and bring a plan?
Get approval and bring a plan
Plan.
by what, Tuesday?
No, to here.
Okay.
They got enough going on at the full board meeting.
So can we reconvene here at, next month then?
At the meeting?
At this committee meeting?
Yeah.
That'll be not a problem. I will get that taken care of
Okay.
immediately.
And that way, if some little issue comes up between now and then, we can,
I do
Get it
have
ironed out
licensed
before.
contractors that are clients of mine that said that they would donate their time to build and reconstruct or deconstruct or anything along those lines. I have 3 guys that are willing to do it. My dad's a licensed contractor, he's a vet, he said he'd do it too, so, you know, whatever it takes to save us and the county some money, we're willing to do that. My concern is that my guys and my gals are of the utmost importance and their privacy is of the utmost importance.
and in that vein, just, and it's not gonna be much of a cost, but if you build that wall and put insulation in it, it's soundproof. And that might be something to consider.
That's something that we can consider now because, you know, as it sits now, I can hear darn near everything that goes on in the assessor's office, and I'm certain that if it gets kind of loud in my office, they can hear the same.
And that's where, if there would happen to be something going on in front there, it's soundproofed against you
Yeah.
and whatever.
Yeah, that is, we're totally for that. I mean, we're just trying to do it in the best way that we know how.
Right.
Now, is that enough space for union people? I
Anita,
say it is.
How many people are usually in that?
That's plenty of space. I mean, we have to reconfigure it just for that day with
I
how you
mean,
do a table.
if this wall had to move a foot or two, is that gonna affect you a lot?
No,
It's, because right now, it's still more square foot than,
for FOP, my concern is how many keys would there be issued? You know, would I have a separate locking door
Yes.
to my office?
Yeah, that would
yeah, this one
Okay.
doesn't need to be,
that part, just
Okay.
the front part.
So the front part would be open to,
It would probably be locked most of the time.
okay. So that would be my only concern, is
Yeah,
whether
that door
my,
would be locked, and then
whether-
your
This
office
is your-
would be locked separate
Yeah.
from that.
if
No,
that metal one
I don't
needs
think we're
locked, I don't
opposed
know,
to
there's
that at all.
nothing in it,
Okay, 'cause
so.
what we might be looking at for you, if we've got a table here and the doors are here, there's gotta be room for your people, if there would be somebody in a wheelchair, to make it around that table to the door. So we wanna make sure
yeah.
all
We
that's
have a
figured out.
table, or just on negotiation day, we find just to fold up, just to sit there, you know,
Whatever.
whatever.
But we wanna
Because
make
they
sure
might
there's
need
enough
more
room
space.
for that.
Yep, I am just pleased as all get out is that you guys are considering this, because,
Well,
yeah.
sometimes it takes a while, but we get there eventually.
Yeah, I work with the government on a daily basis, so I totally get it. So I am so appreciative. You guys don't know what this means to me. It means to my vets, you know, wow, that's all I can say. So I'm very happy that this makes my day.
Social workers down here that
Well-
use their space for that.
And let me add on to this, it's not, as it sits right now, we have several gentlemen and ladies that have been affected by the flood, where Catholic Charities and those sorts of types of things, and we've got a couple of guys that, you know, Heinz is gonna come down for and speak to them because they're about ready to lose their house, due to, you know, certain other things. So those people cannot drive and be able to support their families, you know, several times during a month to go and try and save their homes, you know. So this, you know, if we can get them here, they're residents of Iroquois County, they can meet and we can figure it out one way or another how we're gonna accommodate. But that makes it, with those extra offices, it makes it a ton easier, so. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. I have a question.
Well,
If their group pays for this, is there gonna be any, I don't know how to put it, authority over that room?
yes,
Pay for
no,
it.
that's what,
It's still our space.
it's our space,
It's just, if they want
Right.
it, they gotta pay.
right, I mean, and that's kind of the precedent, I mean, it was done differently with the FSA down there. We pay for it up front, but they're paying for it through their leasing. Well, she doesn't have a lease, or, well, she's got a lease, but it doesn't,
It's not a lease.
yeah.
No, she doesn't.
Oh,
You
well,
have to provide that.
we have to
Yeah,
provide
we
a
have to
By
space.
law,
Yeah.
by law, we must provide her space plus a telephone outlet.
Really?
Yeah, they have veteran assistance.
Yeah.
It's in the, if you, that red book, talks about UCCI.
Yeah, so, but, no, that's where we were saying, you know, we'd have to approve the plan, which isn't gonna be much.
She won't care, no.
Yeah, I mean, unless there's something outlandish in it, I don't see us not approving it.
That solves the money problem.
Yeah.
Yes,
Let her go to her board then to get that.
okay. Anybody else got questions on that? Claims.
Move to pay the claim.
Second.
Alt,
Yes.
Asperger,
Yes.
Johnson, McGinnis,
Yes.
Austin, Aaron.
Yes. Okay, old business. Um, I don't know, if we have this on the salt and the bid for snow removal here. Was there something specifically, or just to see,
Thought you should be aware.
yeah. So it actually cost us $14,000 for salt, is that what I see?
They oversalted.
Wow.
Well,
They need the salt sidewalks.
I'm glad that we only had a one-year contract here,
Yeah.
so,
It's important.
Really nice to get multiple bids
Cruises,
somehow,
shrimps.
because this was a lot.
and that is something, when we usually start getting bids on that, July?
It actually costs $21,000 for salt. You're $14,000 over
Yeah.
budget.
Oh, okay.
12, 92.
14,000 over.
How
Yep.
many pounds of salt?
Well,
Well, it was 55 cents a
Oh,
pound,
there's,
Yeah, I don't
that's
mind.
what were the options.
so,
We have to sometimes
well,
short, because several times, for next year, several times there's way too much salt.
we need
So
to,
we got to
Every
figure
company
out.
we ever hired that was on the stories already oversalted, it seems like, everyone.
Where do you get their money?
Well,
We
then
don't
it
need
needs to just include
driveways.
it in the bid,
We don't need,
well,
period. There's
Well,
no option,
then
there's
that
no
would be
two
what
ways,
we
it's
would-
just flat out,
okay.
give us your cost.
we
Um,
don't have to
can
salt.
you make
the
a note of
parking
that,
lot.
Amanda, to
Jim Devine
make
already
that
said we
in
don't
the
have
bid
sidewalks, yes.
contract, or contract?
It's nice to
Start
the
asking
driveways.
people, you know, we're probably gonna be July putting it out for bid, so see who's out there, get as many people to bid as possible.
We'll start not salting the lot
We don't have to. Only sidewalks.
and only do the
Yeah.
sidewalks, I mean, that.
Yep. That's all we need to do.
Until everybody falls down in a lot.
It's not required.
We'll see. We like those when you,
As long as that lot's filed, it'll be fine to drive on.
Yeah,
I agree.
well, you didn't push
I
them.
agree.
Jim,
Well, and we can talk to Mr. Devine and see what he says.
yeah, I talked to him before, and he said you don't have to, there's no requirement to salt the driveway.
Won't get
Because it's an active
up so
guy.
quick.
Some, just, yeah, and he's like, and if they wanna sue, they'll, just like everything else, it goes to the liability insurance people, and then they decide what they wanna do with it, and, but if not, precedent where it's supported,
That would save us a lot of money, not salting that driveway with a lot.
and they'll save on wear and tear of the driveway.
Yeah,
Okay.
reserve that new parking lot.
Okay, well, we need to, anything like that we wanna change in the bid form, we need to start getting it gathered up so we're ready. any ideas, get them to Chris, and Chris can kind of, and talk to the sheriff, see what he says. You know, if he says, no, it's gotta be salted, then that over there is gonna be out of his budget. I mean, that's just the way. Anybody got any other old business? Any new business? Motion,
Move it, sure.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.